All right. So one of my dear buddies has decided, Brian Graham, that he's happy. He decides that he's going to quit working and going to go and get his degree in political science at the University of Illinois. And he had worked at Express.
Never has a degree more wasted.
No, I know.
Than Pappy studying political science.
What are the shit boxes called? The delivery company where it's Brown.
Oh, UPS.
UPS. So he works for UPS, and he started out on the evening sort, but he moved up to truck washer. But now he's gonna decided that he's gonna go back to school. He's quitting that job, and he and I are gonna hitchhike across the country to go all the way out where I've been to before, out to the furthest northwest point, Point Ferment, in the Olympic Peninsula. It's where the Makah Indian Reservation. So this is 2,800 miles from the Midwest. Well, just as the universe would have it, we get picked up by a truck driver. And the truck driver, as he's driving across Wisconsin and Dakota, he is breaking open pallets and from the interior of the pallets frozen salmon, frozen steaks, and then putting the pallet back together so that when they unload it, they don't notice that there's a big 2 or 3 steak hole in the middle. And because Brian had worked as a palletizer as well as I, part-time, we helped this guy, and so he kept giving us speed because he's a truck driver to keep us going, because his last delivery was all the way on the other side of Minneapolis. So here we're going out to the Olympic Peninsula, and our very first ride, or one of our very first ride, Brian is back in the business that he was just trying to get out of, which was the truck business, and all the way to Fargo. And the guy took us to his last stop, wished us well, and we fell asleep, and our bed rolls out as our first day. So the very first ride, that next day.
All the way to Fargo.
We're Fargo in one day. That's pretty far. We get picked up in the early morning by about an 80-year-old man in his chicken truck. And his chicken truck is an immaculate 50s panel truck filled with chickens. And so Brian and I throw our bags in the front, area and stuff. And he just continues to tell us jokes all the way from Fargo to about 60 miles off in the countryside, and then leaves us. That trip, it was just, hitchhiking was still good. This must have been just after I met you, because Tara was going to meet, we were going to meet out at Telluride.
Pre-80?
It wasn't pre-80, it was right around the 80s, because Brian could. So we get picked up immediately by a new American in a big Mark 7, and he's doing a series of advertising papers all around the country. And particularly in Montana, there's no speed limit. So he liked Brian and I, and so we wound up getting a 700-mile ride that day because he liked us so much, and there's no speed limit. He just blasted us through. I'm going to need to break for a minute.